Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about did Batman go to college? All right, so I've been watching The Batman, the 2004 to 2008 television series. It is absolutely fantastic. I really like it. I think it's one of the best portrayals of the Batman character that's ever been put onto film or onto television itself. And it really is just a fantastic show. And I've been thinking deeply about Batman because I'm so inspired by the show, right? Just thinking about him, it just gets so many aspects of his character correct, right? So yesterday I talked about Batman's favorite meal. And, throughout my day I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, it came up in my head, where did he go to college? Or did he go? And then I realized, well, the question is, you can't assume he went to college. So did he go to college, right? And I thought about this and I was like, that's a really good question. All right, so here is my answer. So one, I'm going to answer this from the perspective of canon. All right, so Batman canon. So Batman canon is the DC Comics. That's really the source. That's where he started. And that is the closest thing there is to Batman canon. Now, there are many versions of Batman's origin story within DC Comics, right? But there is one specific comic book, pure DC, pure Batman, where he is shown to have gone to college, okay? And that is the 1974 Detective Comics number 439, Night of the Stalker, okay? And in that comic, it shows Batman in his costume, in his own study, and he's at a period of sadness, and he's in front of a painting of his parents that is on his wall at his own desk, where he sits and where Bruce Wayne would sit and complete his budget, right? Like that, something like that. Well, over on the right side of that painting is his diploma. It's a law diploma, and it's from Yale University, okay? So within the DC Comics canon since 1974, it's been declared that Batman did go to college. Now that's one slice, one version of Batman. Within DC Comics, there are multiple versions of Batman, right? So how I want to answer the question today is, at base nature, does Batman go to college, right? So there is a base nature for Batman, right? The base nature for Batman is the following aspects. It doesn't matter what your background for Batman is. They've all shared these elements. They might have twisted one thing or another, but virtually all of the versions of Batman, even within DC Comics, have shared the following. He always has the cowl. He always has the cape, okay? There's Batman 2099, I think. Batman Beyond. And I think even there, they got rid of the cape there. But I would say, so he always has the cowl. He's always secretive, right? He always knows martial arts. That's just absolutely key to Batman. And then also he always has an Alfred. That Alfred might not be named Alfred, but he always has a really consistent apprentice who's there for him and aids him, okay? So he doesn't, fundamentally, he's always aided, right? I thought that was kind of interesting. So my question is, at base nature, is a college degree necessary for the Batman to be the Batman? And my answer is yes, 100% yes, and here's why. So Batman, one of the other key parts of his base nature is he is the world's greatest detective. Maybe you twist, the base nature a bit and you say he's a detective, but Batman is always a detective. He's always a sleuth. He's interested in puzzles. He's able to solve mysteries, right? This is part of his base nature, okay? In order to be the best detective in the world, you have to be, really savvy and intelligent, and so here's the key, right? So one of the other things is, whenever Batman is solving problems, a lot of times really key, very integral parts of his job are knowledge of the law and knowledge of medicine. So he uses this in many ways. He uses knowledge of medicine to harm people quickly and take people down. He uses knowledge of medicine to keep himself up and going, in his fighting. And he uses knowledge of medicine to get clues, to see if somebody's lying or all those kind of things. Blood flow, whether they're perspiring, dilation of pupils. Knowledge of medicine has always been really critical. He also has an incredible knowledge of the law, right? And this is demonstrated time and time again in every DC comic book, right? That he, at minimum, now he knows broadly. He's incredibly broadly has knowledge across many, many topics. He's really shown to be a polymath or a Renaissance man, right? And so with that, one of the things is, in order to understand the law and medicine at the level he does, you have to know Latin. You would have to know Latin. And the reason why is both of those are just, filled with Latin terms, right? The other thing is, Batman is able to solve things very, very quickly. He's able to organize and he's able to prepare. He's able to do sequencing, right? All these things, right? Well, in order to get there, right, there's two paths, right? You would have to go to college or you would have to be self-taught. And the way you would become self-taught is you would read a bunch of books. And the reality is there's just too much, there's too many limitations to book reading, right? And the issue is, when you go to college, you really only learn, it doesn't matter what your degree is. When you go to college, especially at the bachelor's level, right? And you can't go to master's school before you go to bachelor's, right? Before you get a bachelor's. At the bachelor's level in college, what you learn is you learn how to learn. That is absolutely fundamental, and that is fundamental to what Batman has done. He absolutely has learned how to learn. And I have the contention that that is impossible without college. You cannot, read a bunch of books and then have the level of knowledge that Batman has. And the reason why is, one, Batman had to get all this knowledge very quickly, right? And one of the reasons why people go to college is, one, you learn how to learn, but you learn it quickly, right? So you have professors who are saying, okay, I want you to read all this content. Now we're going to discuss that content in depth. And now I'm going to test your knowledge of the subject, right? So one, if you're reading books on your own, you can't get other people's perspective, right? So you're only going to know what you know. You're not going to know what you don't know, right? And you're not going to know how other cultures come at the same conversation and the same topic, right? You're also not going to have expert level knowledge spoon-fed to you, right? As quickly as possible through a lecture format, right? And so all of those. And then also, how are you going to know if you really learned it, because you haven't really been tested, right? So, as determined as Bruce Wayne was to become the Batman, there's no way to get around those limitations of, he could not test himself and he could not get other people's perspectives on the topics he was reading about without college, right? All right, now, what is the problem with this theory that Batman did go to college? There is a problem with it. It's time, okay? College takes 4 years minimum. And by the way, I do think that he went to college, but he did not get any master's degrees, right? He did that master's degree work on his own, I think. And so I believe that most likely Batman went to college. He got a 4-year degree. Right? In 3 years. We're going to talk about that, right? And I believe that the subject he studied is probably... that's a tough one. That is a very tough one. I would say he probably studied medicine, right? He did the pre-work that you would do to become a doctor. And the reason why is, the one thing is the law, there are a ton of books on that. And I think more than any other course of study, you could learn that with as little hands-on as possible, right? Whereas medicine, he has this deep understanding of medicine it's so critical to his ability to fight, his ability to survive fighting, and his ability to understand human beings, right? I think medicine would be, so pre-med. So I think he got a 4-year degree in pre-med, and he did it in 3 years. So the reason why I'm saying he did it in 3 years is the biggest problem with Batman going to college is the time it took. So one, he's a master of all these different martial arts. He's also really good at technology. He also can physically build things, right? So he's not awesome at physically building, but he has some mechanical skills, right? So all of that takes an incredible amount of time, right? And so one, the 4 years you would take to college really messes with the whole idea of him being this incredibly capable person, right? Because he had to jam all this knowledge and all this study into a very short period, about 10 or 15 years, right, before he was really spun up fully, and he was the Dark Knight of Gotham, right? And so, with that said, I think where you land is he went to college in 3 years. And the reason why is this is possible. People do it right now. They do 4-year degrees in 3 years. It would not have prompted suspicion from different groups for him to complete a degree in 3 years, right? So if Batman could, which he absolutely could, if Bruce Wayne, he would have went in when he was 17 years old, right? Because it wouldn't have been a stretch to get in 1 year early, right? He could have greased some palms, or at minimum just, fudged when his birthday was. And then he would have been there until he was 20. So I think Batman went to college from when he was 17 years old to when he was 20 years old, okay? And so that is where you land, right? And I think he went for pre-med. The idea of him going to Yale Law School, it makes sense that he might have went Ivy League just from the quality perspective. I can buy that. I can buy that. But so just thinking deeply about Batman and the question of, is it necessary that he went to college? I think it is absolutely necessary that Batman went to college. You cannot be the world's greatest detective without a college degree. And the reason why, fundamentally, is at college, you learn how to learn. And being self-reliant, there's really no way to replace that, in my opinion. There's absolutely a way to replace that, to do things, to build a career, but to be the Dark Knight, to be the world's greatest detective, to be all the things that Batman is, even the social aspects that he has to do in order to be Bruce Wayne, even that, like macking chicks, like, you learned that at college, I really feel strongly that going to college, being college educated, is as fundamental to Batman as the cowl itself. Thank you.